Hello, I am Jen Loki. Let's try that. There we go. And it is September 20th, and this is the Integumentary Talk. I have no note cards other than the one that has my name on it around me. I'm alone in a room, except my dog. He's not going to be helpful. All right. So the integumentary system is composed of the subcutaneous layer, which is also known as the superficial fascia or the hypodermis. And this is loose connective tissue, areolar tissue, and adipose tissue. And that is below the dermis. And the dermis is where we find a lot of our accessory structures like glands and hair and nails. And then we have our epidermis, which is the most superficial layer. So let's start with my career path. I think that I want to do something with athletes, maybe physical therapy. I'm a runner and a climber, and I get injured all the time. And so these people put me back together a lot. So in the integumentary system, this connected a bit because of callus formation. I figure that you can use callus formation on a runner's foot to see where they are causing the most mechanical stress and friction, and more keratin is produced and thicker skin there, because calluses can actually be quite a problem. I also, superficially, things like blisters are an issue. I ran a mountain marathon this last weekend, and a huge chunk of my heel, skin came off in one giant chunk. And I would have kept it and showed you, but people thought it was gross, so I threw it away. Anyway, so these are how it kind of connects to maybe like a career working with athletes. Okay, the dermis is split into two layers. The top, or the most superficial layer, is the papillary layer, and this is made of loose connective tissue. Below that, deep to that, is the reticular layer, and this is made of dense, irregular connective tissue. This is where we find sebaceous glands or oil glands, sweat glands, and things like hair follicles and things. These sweat glands come in two different kinds. There's eccrine sweat glands, and those produce thin watery substance that has some salts and stuff in it. And as an athlete, that is going to become important just to know how to replace what you're losing through your sweat glands when you're working. And then there's apocrine sweat glands, and these I'm very familiar with as well because I have two teenage boys and I taught middle school. So these become activated in puberty and have sort of an odor. They produce a milky odoriferous substance, and they only are found in your groin, armpits, nipples, so specific places. And this is also connected to pheromones being released too. Apocrine and eccrine sweat glands. Sebaceous glands are also found in this reticular layer of the dermis. Sebaceous glands are can either dump sebum, or this oily substance that has an antimicrobial factor to it, into hair follicles, and it coats the hair, or it can dump it into sebaceous follicles, which can just communicate directly with the epidermis. It keeps the epidermis from drying out, so it maintains that even though the epidermis is quite avascular and otherwise would not be able to maintain itself. Okay, sebaceous glands, sweat glands, hair, nails. Okay, then we are going to talk about the epidermis. The epidermis is rad. This is where calluses kind of come to pass. And the deepest layer is the stratum basal. It goes stratum basal, stratum spinosum, stratum granulosum, stratum lucidum, only in the thick skin of where mechanical stress is most, like the palms of your hands or soles of your feet. And then finally you have your stratum corneum on the outside. The deepest layer is where stem cells called basal cells are start to go through mitosis and turn daughter cells into keratinocytes. Keratin is this substance that helps to protect cells from drying out. And the keratinocytes are one of 4 specialized cells in this, in the epithelium. Also, there are melanocytes that produce melanin that absorb UV light, and the melanin will get into the keratinocytes and sort of dye the cell until that cell ends its lifespan. I am out of time. So you can shut it off if you want to, but I'm just going to finish really fast just because it'll make me feel better. The melanocytes, the melanin enters keratinocytes through melanosomes, which are vesicles filled with melanin. And then there are also, so then you enter the stratum spinosum, where those cells are very tightly bound together from tonofibrils and at desmosomes of the cells, so the regions with like cell adhesion molecules, and they are tightly bound together, in fact, so much so that after the cells die, they still are bound together and they come off in giant sheets, and you can gross out your friends after a long mountain run like I did. Then you have the stratum granulosum, and this is the last cell layer where the cells have nuclei and are alive. And then you have the stratum lucidum, which are only what we talked about, and then stratum corneum, where you just have multiple layers of squamous epithelial cells that are dead and flattened and protect what's underneath. I'm going to stop now.